So we're surveying an area of ash woodland. It's just a pocket where probably it's been a clear fell area and some windblown seeds have got in, and these lovely stems of ash have come through, really nicely spaced, dead straight, probably 25 meters tall. And one of the things we have to do is survey for ash dieback. And the way we do it is we divide it up into 5 stages. So 0 would be no sign of ash dieback. So we have a tree in the center there with no sign of ash dieback. And then we have 25% of the ash dieback of crown loss, and then we have 50% of crown loss, perhaps in that one in the middle there, and then 75% crown loss, which I'm sure there is one in here, and eventually we get to number 4, which is 100% crown loss. So this one in the center. So this is over a path. We've tagged this whole area as having ash dieback, and there are various stages of it. This one here is a what we call a stage 0 in the middle there. That's got no discernible dieback. The one next to it's about 50%. That one there is around about 75%. That one there is around about 0. And so it's a way of quantifying that. So everything within 50 meters of a ride would potentially have to be felled, really. Felling ash is very difficult. For those of you that know, it basically crumbles into cubes when you try and fell it. It's very, very dangerous. Mechanized felling is preferred, really. You'd have to have a very good reason to be felling it by hand. When I say by hand, I mean with a chainsaw. Yeah, it's a very, very hard, tricky thing to gauge when you're felling, certainly stage 3 or 4 ash dieback. It also opens it up to other decay as well, so you often get a lot of other decay coming in as well because of it. So it really is hard to control when you're felling it. So basically all of this stuff, as far as a public health risk is concerned, will probably need to go quite quick. So they should be getting in here quite soon. It's you don't want to leave this too long because it just makes the felling operation so incredibly difficult. There's one in the background over there that looks really ropey as well. So anything within 50 meters of a public ride, that needs to go. And then further away, there may be some signs of resistance, hopefully. So it'd be a shame if we felled every single ash everywhere, because we'd never know which ones were resistant if there were any. So what we're trying to do then is we're trying to get rid of anything that's a public hazard, and this is, you know, it can't really be understated how hazardous this stuff is. And it's actually absolutely cataclysmic, you know, what's happening to ash. As a forester, this just makes me weep to see this. I've done a lot of felling of ash trees over my time, and a lot of thinning of ash trees to make nice stands, and you know, this is what I would thin and create, and now it's all going over. So I think what they've done here is they've blocked off a bridge, and they blocked off a bridge further up the track as well to try and stop people walking through here. I'm alright to be here because I'm surveying it, but I flagged it up. It's entirely up to them what they want to do with it, but my recommendation is this stuff is going to need to be felled, which is an absolute shame. Really is a shame, just because of public health, really. But yeah, that's what trumps it all, really, the public safety in these woodlands. We need to be able to enjoy these woodlands, and you know, a replant, not of ash certainly, but a replant in here wouldn't go amiss in here, or maybe even opening up as some sort of glade or a sort of wet meadow or something, you know. So here we are, ash dieback. Some that's blown over the river here, all hung up in the other tree, which is basically what it's going to do. You can see the telltale signs of it there, where it's getting really staghorn. You get these sort of epicormic growths. It goes into panic growth. These are all classic symptoms of ash dieback. Now, without ash dieback, sometimes you see that on ash anyway, but it's really pronounced on ash dieback. So you can see all that the leaders are all dying off, and you'll also see a lot of the buds coming out of the bark to try and cope with it. You'll see a lot of spriggy stuff coming out of the bark, which you don't actually see in here, weirdly enough. Probably because it's quite early stage. We are in north of Scotland at the moment. So yeah, there's the case in point. About there, or on the zoom there, you can see the late stages right there. Now it's popping out loads of twigs under the out the bark that are trying to cope with it. It just basically looks like, I remember when I first saw it, it looked like somebody had taken a blowtorch to trees, you know. You do get these diamond-shaped lesions. You do get this kind of like browning, like burning almost of the bark and stuff, especially in the young ones. And it tends to affect the young ones really quickly and then go up into the older ones. Bigger trees tend to get it a little bit later. If you cut trees down for coppice as well, we've noticed that it affects them straight away. So if you've got a tall tree with no targets, you know, try and leave it, but don't leave it too long that it turns into that. If you cut it down and let it coppice, then it will definitely die of ash dieback. So it's a really tricky one. Stormy weather, so the trees are really growing over this river there. The river's really in spate at the moment. Here we see a classic one where the ash is basically putting on that growth there, and I'd expect those epicormic short shoots on there, I'd expect them to die off pretty quick. You know, unfortunately these trees have got probably 5 years left in them, and I think that's probably being generous with some of them as well. Such a shame. Just as a sort of ID feature, just as an aside really, this is sort of semi-mature ash bark here. It's starting to get quite crinkly. It gets really crinkly when it gets a little bit older than this. This stuff's growing well, growing really fast and dead straight. You can tell it's dead straight when you look down it. You see the lines that come down it aren't twisted or anything. This is prime ash, this one here. As a timber product, from a timber point of view, this should be felled now before it gets any more ash dieback, and that will taint the timber. You won't be able to use it. But this is a quality, what we call a quality stick in the forestry. Younger ash, you'd see it's kind of almost green and smooth, which is something like that. And an older ash gets really, really crinkly, starts to get this crinkly bark like this, and that just gets more and more crinkly as it grows. Some other things that ash might have is cankers, and cankers usually start up the tree and spread down, and they almost like explosions in the wood, and that will weaken the tree as well. But ash dieback's the main thing. One of the fungus you might see on is Perennipaura fraxinea, which would be round the butts, round the roots, girdling it. Very dangerous fungus to be spotting. Almost like a green kind of top to it. Really picks up loads of grass and mud and stuff, like a cushion around the bottom of the tree. And then the classic one that you might find is Daudinia concentrica, or King Alfred cakes, which are sort of black, almost like knobs on the tree. But that's a saprophytic one, so that grows on dead wood only. You can use that for fire lighting, or at least holding an ember. And that's your ash dieback scenario.